So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all. This is Matt Gamzer, CEO of the SME Finance Forum, bringing you this latest edition in our SME Finance Marketplace. We're welcoming a lot of old friends and new friends to this session. It's great to see that people are using the chat room to introduce themselves. For those that aren't familiar with our WebEx setup, there's an icon at the bottom right of the page called Chat, and it pops up, at least in my computer, it pops up at the bottom right corner, and you have a to everyone, which is a great place to leave it, and then enter chat message here, where you can just say who you are and where you're joining from, as I just did. So I hope you'll use that during this session. We're going to get started with the marketplace with just a short little video about this relatively new initiative of the SME Finance Forum. Came from our members' ideas to create a 24/7, 365 virtual marketplace that we're having once a month live sessions in. So maybe Sarah, if we can start with the brief video. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about the SME Finance Forum first? Let me talk about the SME Finance Forum first. For those that don't know us, created by the G20 and run by the IFC, the private sector arm of the World Bank, we are a global network of now more than 250 member and partner institutions who are learning from each other, linking to new business opportunities, and leading the industry voice in high-level policy dialogue with our founders, the G20, and other important bodies like OECD, the Basel institutions, and more. It's our great pleasure to have you with us. And as I said, this marketplace is a relatively new initiative. We hope that it will be something that all of you feel free to use. It's one of the public spaces we create, and we're going to show you a little bit more about it right now. So there you have it. And as you saw, the marketplace is live and active, and it's open for everybody. And there are hundreds of companies that are represented in the marketplace today. You're going to hear from 8 really interesting companies, and they're a very good example of the great diversity of services and interests that are represented in the marketplace. I've given each of them 7 minutes to briefly present to you, and I'm going to be a fairly strict and nasty moderator of this because we want to give everybody a chance for time while the audience is with us. As I said, we have the chat room open. There are colleagues of our presenters in the audience, so if you have any questions and comments during the presentation, please use the chat room. I'm sure that you will get attention, and in case we miss you during the session, I will tell you in advance that we will send these questions on to the companies and we will do our best to get you a response. So with that, I'm going to get cracking. I have my timer right here, and I am going to introduce our first presenter of the day, which is 4G Capital. So over to 4G, Wayne and Company. Your timing is starting now.
Matt, thank you
Well, we'll wait
very
till
much.
your slides go on, but yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
Sure thing. Well, Matt and all the team at the SME Finance Forum, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And it's a great pleasure to speak to our friends and colleagues in the community again. I'm Wayne Hennessy Barrett. I'm joined by Roseanne Msila, our Chief of Operations Support from 4G Capital. And we are building the neobank for Africa. Minerva, if we could have the next slide, please. So we are a fintech lender. We have been operational since 2013, and we provide microloans blended with enterprise training to self-employed small traders in Kenya and Uganda. And we're looking to expand both by product offering and also by the countries in which we operate. So having recently secured our Series C investment with the wonderful private equity group Lightrock, the impact arm of LGT, we're looking now to really expand to build the neobank for Africa, moving into Western Africa and indeed to Northern Africa over the coming years. We've got just over 700 employees, over 160 teams in East Africa, and we've helped over 100 million customers indirectly through impacting and helping them to access a better standard of life by wealth creation in the democratized grassroots approach, which we believe so firmly as a B corporation. Next slide, please. So I'll be brief on this bit. We know that the finance gap across the world is over $5 trillion. In Africa alone, it's about $330 billion. And that without access to working capital and indeed the knowledge to use that capital wisely, many, many businesses are at risk, which puts families and communities under pressure and holds these amazing markets and countries back from achieving their potential. Next slide, please. We are blessed in having been validated by our wonderful clients. What we do works. We have market-leading repayment rates for our unsecured loans. We have extraordinary year-on-year growth stats. The most important things to us is how rapidly and how much and how sustainably our clients grow, and they tell us that this approach is working by very, very strong net promoter scores and very high levels of repeat business. Next slide, please. So the critical thing is that we're able to reach the people who are traditionally excluded: women, youth, the rural poor. And this blend of using a touch tech approach, where our proprietary fintech is mapped onto a network of relationship officers, helps us to reach people in communities where traditional financial services struggle. Next slide, please. Sorry, go back one. Go back one. Because this is the important bit where I hand over to Roseanne, who's going to tell you about how we actually help people with the knowledge. Roseanne, over to you, please.
Thanks, Wayne. So, hi everyone. So we deliver business training through our relationship officers to different customer groupings, be it female or male, the youth or the older. We further accelerate EdTech, FinTech channels to reach the youth and female micro traders. We use artificial intelligence to enable data-led service design for our customers. For the rural and the low-income earners who are traditionally hard to reach, we are able to reach them through various fintech channels and offer non-financial support. We further partner with other aggregators of the female and male and youth in Kenya. For example, Refugee. So for Refugee, we, as 4G Capital, through our existing customers, train their interns to level them up through on-the-job training and further empower them to build their future. Next slide, please. Thank you. On impact partnerships, these are the global organizations that we've partnered with so far. Some are banking and others distribution partners. So the whole idea is to reach those businesses that traditional financial institutions don't serve. So some of the partners are charitable foundations and others focus on business trainings, which is our core elements of 4G Capital. Over to you, Wayne, again for the next slide. Thanks.
Thanks, Roseanne. So the important thing for this audience, next slide, please, Minerva, is that we partner with distributors, we partner with brands, fast-moving consumer goods, with people who are trying to get their goods to market. And we're able to allow you to transition from cash on delivery to retail credit sales, factoring if you like. Well, we will take the risk of providing that credit so that you can boost your sales, and the end shop owner, the duka owner as we call them in East Africa, or the mom and pop shops, can grow their revenues by an average of 82% year on year. And we can plug and play directly with your systems. We can also work with additional finance partners where we can act as the rails to get working capital into marketplaces, put to good use to help these small businesses to grow. Next slide, please. So please, by all means, get in touch with us. You can see we've got some pretty impressive blue blood partners already. And we're very honored to work with them, and we love seeing them grow as the end clients grow as well. Kuza is the name of this service, means growth in Kiswahili, and we're able to plug and play using our technology platforms directly into the distribution management systems or the CRM systems that distributors and brands use to get to market. And this brings liquidity into value chains, ultimately allowing costs to come down. Next slide, please. And I think that's us at 7 minutes, Matt. I hope that's been helpful. Please direct message me straight away. I'm on this platform for the rest of the call, or indeed Roseanne, if you want to continue the conversation. Matt, back to you.
Thank you, Wayne and Roseanne. And with 40 seconds to spare, excellent work. Excellent work. Well, that's exactly the sort of pitch we love in these marketplaces. You heard such great things about 4G Capital. And that's going to be true of everybody in the marketplace. So I do encourage our audience, if you have any questions for Wayne and Roseanne, please put them in the chat. They're going to see them and they'll be happy to respond to you. But meanwhile, we're going to move to our next presentation, which I understand is going to be introduced by Maxine of Access Holdings. So over to you, Maxine. And your timing is going to start now because your slides are up there.
Thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I can do as well as Wayne did here. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Maxine McKenzie-Kelly. I'm the head of People Partnerships for Access Holding. We have 7 banks in our network, over 6,000 employees, and we're here today to talk about learning and development. I'm here to introduce my amazing team, which is Anna Asalanova, and she is the expert in senior learning and development, as well as Brian O'Driscoll, our senior expert instructional designer, and they are going to take you through this presentation today. I just wanted to share 2 slides, the first being our mission. Obviously, we focus on strategic HR within our network banks, and so we engage, we empower, and we drive change to ensure strategic success of the Access Group. Our ethos or our purpose is on the next slide, Minerva. Perfect. And you'll have to click again if you don't mind. Excellent. So we have a 3-pillared approach, which is around talent acquisition and ensuring that we are constantly growing our people on the ground, and our local expats are there to do that, but we hand over to local talent. We focus on equity, cultural diversity, and people development. Obviously, learning and development is what we're here to talk to today. But from a strategic HR perspective, we focus on career progression, longevity, and loyalty, and we assure that we are a people-driven business that drives results. And this is where I hand over to our lovely Anna.
Thank you very much, Maxine. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is our L&D team. Yeah, please, next slide. So today I'm going to talk about Access Development Program, which is competency-based approach that aims at every level of the organization. And specifically, I would like to talk about Accessor Academy. This is capacity building program for senior and middle management of our organization. The program equips the participants with trending skills and is a great opportunity to share knowledge and best practices. Please, next slide. And the program Accessor Academy is delivered in blended methodology. That means we combine e-learning training with classroom training in Berlin and live virtual online sessions. Of course, due to COVID pandemic, we had to restructure the classroom component, and we managed to do it very efficiently. We managed to provide training to more than hundreds of people in 7 countries, even during COVID pandemic. And the beauty of blended learning approach is that it's actually has a chance for more people to participate, and any type of learner can benefit from the program. Next slide, please. The curriculum of the program consists of leadership competence and core competence, and is complemented with individual coaching sessions that help the participants to focus on their professional and personal challenges and shows them different perspective. The overall program is around from 12 to 18 months, depends on the participation, and it consists of 3 blocks. Next slide, please. And here I want to show you a video that covers a lot about the topic. Could you please show it? Yeah, usually it has sound, but in this particular case, maybe I will accompany and we'll just share that all trainings are delivered by experts in the field. As I said, we use different tools. We use mainly Zoom platform and our internal learning management system to provide e-learning training. Our participants has a great opportunity for networking, for sharing the practice, and also meeting people from different financial institutions, connect and share the experience. And as I have already said, we provide also professional coaching that helps to make the training more relevant and use these small pieces in their daily work right after the training. Yeah, this is all about our program. And on the next slide, you will see a real live online session. Yeah, next slide, please. And now it's the same, sorry. Could you please go to the next? Yeah, this is a picture from a live online session, how our colleagues are benefiting from this training. And of course, the probably is a question, next slide, please. How do we measure the success of the program? And here we use Kirkpatrick's 4 level of evaluation, which are reaction, learning, behavior, and results. And we use specific tools on each of these levels. We measure reaction by after training feedback forms that helps us to understand how relevant this training was for the participant and if they will recommend it to the colleague. We measure learning through assessment tests, which are provided by our learning management system. We help our participants to change their behavior by coaching them and supporting them.
Speaking of measurement, you're in your last minute. I just have to warn you.
Okay. Yeah, and the result says by itself, it's like promotion rate over 60%. And now I hand over to Brian, that he uses this 1 minute with the maximum purpose.
Very generous, Anna, very generous. Next slide, please. Yeah, just quickly to mention, as part of the blended learning approach, we have a learning management system called AccessMind, which we have rolled out across 8 countries over the last 5 years. As we're out of time, I'm basically just going to say that we have about 75,000 course participants, or at least courses that were completed by participants in this across Africa and the Caucasus since then. Next slide, please, before the clock goes.
Well, the clock's gone, but I need you to. So I need you to.
So we're going to wrap it up now. We leave it at that. I think, you know, just let's keep the thing running for you guys. If you want more information on any of this, just get in touch with me directly. Thanks a million.
And we of course will be sharing this presentation afterwards to all participants will get a link, so you'll be able to hear the wonderful soundtrack of the video too. And you'll be able, if anybody needs to contact Access or anyone from any of the presenters, some of them are putting their emails on the chat. Even if they don't do that, you can go to the marketplace. If you go to their stand, you will be able to email them directly. You'll even be able to schedule a video chat if you want. So I encourage everyone to do that. And now we've got to move on. So our next, we've just heard two great presentations from 4G and Access. Our next presenter is John from Banking Circle. And I think John is with us. I didn't have a chance to greet him before, but welcome, John.
Thanks very much.
Over to you.
Thank you so much for having us here at Banking Circle. We're really honored to be part of the program. I'm John Levine. I co-head the institutional business at Banking Circle, which primarily is a business serving banks, DFIs, or other kind of regulated financial institutions. Banking Circle is a regulated bank. We are owned by the largest private equity fund in Europe, which is EQT, based in Sweden. And we've been in operation for about 9 years. And if you think about international payments today, particularly correspondent banking or access to banking for financial institutions, it's pretty difficult to actually obtain good banking services. Many firms are lucky if they can get correspondent banking accounts at all. And then if they do get accounts, historically the service quality has been mixed and the pricing has been high. And this has a knock-on impact around financial inclusion, the ability to execute on development missions, and a whole host of unintended consequences. And Banking Circle is kind of the answer to many of these problems. So Banking Circle is a fully licensed bank. We have branches around Europe. We process payments in 25 currencies. We deliver fair payment FX execution. And ultimately, we really empower financial institutions to not worry about the building blocks of payments and get on with executing on their business or their mission. We have about 400 employees in the bank, 600 employees in the group, and we bank a range of financial institutions, everything from large banks in the UK that have thousands of branches around the country to online payment processors. Think about Stripe, for example, which processes a lot of e-commerce payments, and all shapes and forms. We have financial inclusion very close to our mission. I guess I should say personally also, being in this forum is very close to my heart. I spent a little over a decade at Standard Chartered, running public sector and development organizations banking in EMEA, and then later in Standard Chartered's correspondent banking and fintech banking business. And so I've seen some of the opportunities and also the challenges in the sector from the perspective of two different banks. If I could ask to go to the slide. Perfect, you were ahead of me, which is excellent. If you could click one more time to hopefully pop up the full graphic. Terrific. So I think the main problems we tackle are a few. So one is actually, it's not on this slide, but it's simply the fact that if you're not a large financial institution, it's actually very difficult to get access to payment services. And then that means that your end SME customers are also adversely impacted. Banking Circle takes a view that we want to be much more of an enterprise or software as a service type model. If you think about when you buy services from Microsoft or Google, they probably don't care if you're a large enterprise or a small business or anywhere in between. Yes, there may be variations on the model, but they're going to be open to all comers. And Banking Circle wants to be open to all comers, irrespective of size, so long as they operate a proper compliance environment. The second challenge we tackle, which is the second one from the left, is de-risking. So I think probably on this call, many participants will be familiar with the trend of de-risking, where large banks, for a variety of reasons, which are quite understandable, have had to exit clients. And actually, we see ourselves as a partner that can make merit-based decisions to create access again to the financial systems of the world and provide a bridge into getting payment services again. And then the rest of the things on the slide talk about the other broader themes I mentioned. So costs, service, speed. Speed is particularly interesting with instant payment schemes being rolled out around the world. And speed is quite a thematic topic today in payments. And then lastly, kind of resilience, right? So payments get lost an awful lot, far more than should ever happen. And our engineering and our processes and our systems are wired in such a way that we eliminate payment losses in a way that we don't think very many other financial institutions have been able to do so. We currently process about 10 million payments a month. That volume is up about 200% over where we were a year ago. And our bank roughly doubles in payment volume annually. So I hope that we sound interesting and relevant to some participants on this call. My door virtual is always open, or physical, if you want to come see us in London, where I'm based. And we hope it can be a resource for people as they think about payment journeys. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, John. You've used your time incredibly efficiently. I don't see any questions for you yet, but I just want to comment that we talk a lot about payments in the SME Finance Forum's work because, as everybody on this call knows, as you said, the payment system is old and needs the help of people like Banking Circle to help it be navigated, because big companies have found workarounds, but the smaller you get, the harder it is to deal with the current payment system, whether you're a small business or even a small financial institution. And so it's great to see what Banking Circle is doing, and I'm sure that anyone who's interested, we have a lot of financial institutions on this call. Please get in touch with Banking Circle through their stand, through John. Indira has already mentioned that her bank is facing the problems mentioned. So Indira, I hope you'll get in touch with John and Banking Circle after this call and tell them more about who you are, where your institution is, and hopefully they can find ways to be of help. Just as is the case with all of our presenters in this marketplace. So I'm going to keep cracking on. I'm going to reactivate my timer. I'm being very professional here. And our next speaker is going to talk about we're going to change tone quite a bit, because we're going to talk about blended finance with a still relatively new and exciting organization from our friends to the north in Canada. Chris Clubb, over to you to tell us about convergence.
Thank you very much, Matt. Really appreciate the opportunity. If we can get the presentation up, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm holding your timing until the presentation is up there, just to be fair to everybody. But Super. If we can move to convergence.
So my organization, Convergence Blended Finance, was created back in 2016. Next slide, please. We're just fully dedicated to really two things. This whole idea of the blended finance market and ecosystem is inefficient. That slide. The market is inefficient, it's ineffective, it's too small. We're not getting financing into the right place. So my organization is really dedicated to working with partners to improve the blended finance market and ecosystem. And the second thing we do is all of that market and ecosystem improvement is useless unless this results in actual financing flowing into low and middle income countries to achieve the SDGs and climate. Now, big picture, blended finance is about one of two things. It is either about addressing the high country risk that is present in low and middle income countries. I'll give you an example. The median sovereign risk rating in these countries is single B by Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. The median private sector investment opportunity is going to be triple C or triple C plus. So right off the bat, purely from risk, we lose a lot of debt investors and equity investors into these countries. The second is about individual project risk, whether it's lending to an infrastructure project, a financial institution, a mid-cap. Blended finance can alter the risk return of that particular transaction to get financing into that individual project. So really project level and portfolio level. Next slide, please. So the biggest issue we have in these low and middle income countries is risk. And here on the right-hand side, we have, if you've taken Finance 101, it's the capital asset pricing model. And really what we have, most debt investment opportunities in these countries fall below this market efficient line. So blended finance can do one of two things. It can either reduce the risk, i.e. de-risk the investment opportunity from A to B to get it to that market efficient line, or it can actually increase the return, move it from A to C, outright subsidy. The reality is the large majority of blended finance as practiced today is about de-risking this. One of the reasons being, as you can see on the right hand, if we increase the remuneration and yet it's still on the right hand side of this absolute risk barrier, that will not at all motivate incremental investment to happen. So we need to get it, number one, to market efficient, risk adjusted return, and number two, we need to create the appropriate risk. Next slide, please. Now, in blended finance, we have the world's largest database of blended finance. We work with Matt's colleagues at IFC and others to aggregate this. We have around 680 transactions now. And here have been the sectors where this financing flows. As you can imagine, energy, which is primarily clean energy, has been the biggest recipient of funding. The second has been financial services, and financial services, almost all of which has been for SME lending and agricultural SMEs, financial inclusion lending types of products. So all that financial services is ultimately flowing to SMEs, as is a lot of the agriculture. So SMEs are a big recipient. Next slide, please. Now, in talking to Matt and his colleagues about what do we think might be of the highest interest of what Convergence is up to for the SME finance stakeholders. Number one is we are actually issuing grants. We have taken grants from donors, and we're issuing grants to the most innovative blended finance structures that will get more private investment into more projects in low and middle income countries. And I'll walk through that a little bit. So this is essentially, if you've got a great idea on how more private investment can be mobilized into more SME finance projects, share your idea with us through one of these three windows, and through a competition, we're awarding grants. I'll give you an example. A very recent one was Aceli Africa applied for a grant. We thought what they were up to was a very good idea, and we issued them a grant to help them get their financial proposal to the finish line. The second activity that we're providing is we actually have an investment platform. You can't see it on our website because we're regulated by the Canadian equivalent of the Securities and Exchange Commission, but there we have around 40 to 45 transactions that a project sponsor or a fund manager has described, and it is now looking for funding either from a concessional capital provider, philanthropic foundation, a government, and it's looking for commercial investment, whether that's from a private investor or an MDB, a DFI. We're trying to match up the different providers of funding with the different fund managers and project sponsors to get more of these projects funded. The third activity is we're running monthly learning and training activities about blended finance in general, and blended finance for debt and equity, and blended finance for particular sectors. And we also run quite a few networking events amongst our 250 plus organizations. Next slide, please. Now, probably of the highest potential interest is this grant program that we're running. Right now, we have 3 windows that are available on our website at convergence.finance, where you can get more information under the design funding banner. But it's essentially our partnership with the Swiss government, the government of Canada, and a philanthropic group called the RS Group Foundation, where every 3 to 6 months we're issuing grants to the best ideas. And one of the areas that we're clearly interested in is SME financing, financial inclusion, rural agriculture, gender issues through SME finance. So please either contact me or look at our website to see what's available. Next slide, please. The most recent...
Last minute, Chris.
Yep. The most recent call for proposals, we just launched it in March, at the end of March. The end date is June 30th. And we're issuing grants between $50,000 and $500,000 to stimulate the best innovative finance solutions that will push financing to these 4 SDGs. And really, SME financing really falls under decent work and economic growth. So all good blended finance ideas for SMEs qualify under this SDG Impact Finance Initiative. So it's available on our website or reach out to me. So Matt, I've got a lot more slides, but you and your colleagues are going to share the deck with everybody here, and I'll just wrap up now.
Thank you so much, and bang on time, Chris. That's fantastic. And as you're hearing, you know, we don't just have people that are selling services in the marketplace. We have people selling finance, and that's just as important. And blended finance, as Chris has said, is a critical ingredient of how we're going to tackle some of the world's biggest problems, whether it's in the climate space or other aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals. So I hope that this piqued your interest. I hope several of you will go back to Chris and try to see how you can be more involved with Convergence and its service for providing blended finance, whether you're going to apply for grants, whether you're going to apply for investments, or whether you're going to just want to learn more about blended finance and how your institution, which may be a financier, can participate in blending itself. So with that, let us crack straight on. I'm going to turn over next to Bonaventure and the Development Bank of Nigeria. So Bonaventure, over to you, and I will hold your clock until we have the screen sharing and we are starting your presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here as usual. Thank you, Mark, for a very good job that you're doing. While we're waiting for the slides to come up, just to give you a brief insight into the Development Bank of Nigeria. Sometime around 2013, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics did a survey of the number of Nigerian MSMEs, and it was discovered that we have close to 38 million MSMEs in Nigeria. But unfortunately, out of this number, less than 5% of them had access to finance. And that was one of the major reasons why the federal government of Nigeria, in conjunction with some global development partners, decided to establish the Development Bank of Nigeria. I don't need to go into the rationale for establishing the DBN. A lot of people have mentioned that because it's the same in Nigeria. There's a whole lot of gaps, and the fact that they make up half of the GDP and employ over 80% of the population. At DBN, our main vision is to be the primary development finance institution that is promoting growth and sustainability in Nigeria. I'll go straight to slide number 7 so that we don't waste so much time, so that I could just give you an idea as to what our ecosystem is. I'll use that to explain what we are doing. Okay, great. So recall I mentioned the fact that the federal government of Nigeria set up DBN with some global development partners. And these development partners combined to provide us with an equity investment of about $454 million. Additionally, the loans from the AFDB, World Bank, and others was about $1.23 billion. And that gave us the kick-up capital that was used to set up the DBN. We are regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, just the same way like every other commercial and development finance institution in the country. And we've been able to have a partnership of close to 51 banks in the country that include both the domestic money bank, merchant banks, non-interest bank, and all of that. If you go to the next slide, I'll be talking about our operations. Please go to the next slide. I want to give you an idea as to how our model operates. So in terms of, we have 3 main mandates, which is that of wholesale lending, partial credit guarantees, technical assistance, and capacity building. So for the wholesale lending, what we do is that we have several funding partners, like I've already mentioned, who then provide us with debt funding for wholesale banking to the PFIs that have been onboarded. We currently have like over 51 of them. And thereafter, these funds are provided through the PFIs to the micro, small, and medium scale businesses in Nigeria. To this end, we've disbursed over $1.2 billion to over 209,000 end borrowers in the country. If we move to the next slide, and just to quickly give you an idea as to what we've done so far, since 2017, when we started, We started at about less than about $650,000 in disbursement to just 296 beneficiaries with 3 PFIs. We've grown to 1.2 billion in 2021 to 208,000 and about 51 PFIs. Please go to the next slide. At this slide, just to show part of our development impact, we look at the fact that we want to encourage the areas that are financially excluded, like women. We talk about youth, we talk about disadvantaged region. What we've done in the last 4.5 years, we've been able to provide up to 66% of our end borrowers that are female entrepreneurs with loans. Our young borrowers are about 27.3%. While we've just been able to touch 3.5% of the financially excluded part of the country. So we need to do a lot much more, and that's why we are looking at having more partnership towards ensuring that our impacts are felt around the country. You know, we have a 5-year strategic plan, which is more around scaling our reach and ensuring that we have new partners, we have new channels for distribution. Being a wholesale bank is usually very difficult to reach out if you don't have very good, innovative, and creative partnership. And that's what we've been able to do with our 51 PFIs. So ensure that this partnership is well in tune with our plans and everything. If you go to slide 12, let's go to slide 12, and slide 12 will show you the different kind of products that we put in place to ensure that the financial intermediaries will find our offerings lucrative for them to come and then provide loans to the MSMEs. So we have what we call the interest drawback program, which acts as an incentive to the PFIs to increase lending to those areas that we want them to go to. Areas like gender, financially disadvantaged region, and all of that. We also have what we call the DBN finance to finance product, which we use to also encourage some of the financial intermediaries that are not at that level where we think they will meet our risk appetite criteria. So we then provide funding to them through the PFIs that we have. We've also developed a non-interest banking framework. You recall that part of our country where we have people based on their religion, they are not interested in interest-bearing loans. We've created this framework to enable them also participate in this program, and thereby fostering financial inclusion and providing a platform to reach more of the financially undeserved locations in the country. If we go to the
last minute, Bonaventure.
Okay, fine. If we go to slide 13, I think just to show what we've done for our PFIs in terms of our technical assistance program, we've been doing some form of training. Currently, we have about 5 PFIs that we are training with the Frankfurt School of Finance out of Europe to kind of upscale their ability to utilize our products and lend to the MSMEs. We also have capacity building programs for SMEs, and that has been quite helpful. We've created some form of mobile banking app and other digital kind of training to ensure that this is all done in the right manner. That's all for me for today. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And like we say, we are willing to address any questions or comments that you have if you put them on the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonaventure, and it's very good to hear from you, especially after following the presentation on blended finance with Chris. So we have 2 very active demonstrations of the potential of blended finance. I know we're going very fast, and we still have 3 more to go. But don't worry, you know, this is all not disappearing. It's all going to be there on the marketplace, and all of you will be able to take it in a much more considered way and get at all the full benefits of what you can learn from these institutions and how you might collaborate with them. So with that, I'm going to turn to our next presenter, Fintech Group. And now that your slide is up there, please start start when you're ready.
Thank you.
Make sure you're
Thank you,
unmuted.
Matt. You can hear me, Matt.
Hassan, yes, now I hear you.
All right, thank you so much. Great to be here. Lovely opportunity. And good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone, depending on the location. We'll just pick it up. Now, my name is Hassan Isa. I'm the product manager, channels at Fintech Group. We have presence in 5 countries. I mean, actually offices in 5 countries. That is in Kenya, Malawi, Mauritius, Uganda, Zimbabwe. But all in all, in terms of our footprint, we actually have customers across Africa with over 240 financial institutions using our services. So we have over 28 years experience. So fintech was fintech before fintech became a thing. So we'll just go directly to the products that we do have. As we serve Africa, we have 4 main categories of products, that is core systems, payments, channels, and consultancy. Now, fintech is mainly there to bridge the gap between business and technology. And we have focused a lot on the financial sector, and where we have had projects that also enhance, financial inclusion, extending it to the unbanked. Example of this is a shared platform that we already run in Malawi for SACCOs, MFIs, or probably with SACCOs, you probably may know it more as cooperative unions, and so on. So, but beyond that, again, as I mentioned, those categories, we have different kind of solutions in clearing and settlements, and the payments, channels, and consultancy. Now, what we are going to be focusing on is Trade Power, which is our trade financing platform. And in this in this presentation today, we are going to be focusing on the bid bond application area. So, as I mentioned, it's a platform that provides convenient, reliable, and affordable link among parties in trade finance. So the access to bid bonds offered by financial institutions to facilitate trade is at the comfort of users. Now, we will see how all this also pans out, even when you're looking at in the case of pandemics and so on. But we'll go on, as we go on talking, it will definitely be unfolding, and we'll bring that out. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So the bid bonds is a part of the tendering process. We know that when the procuring entity wants to have a guarantee in terms of what of the ability of the bidder to be able to carry out the contract, that really leads to the bid bond, where they can be there can be an amount that actually is guaranteed within that process of application of the contract. So in case there's any specifications that have not been met by the bidder in terms of the whole contracting process, then that money can be forfeited by the bidder, and so protects actually the procuring entity, and also enhances the viability of that bidder in terms of being given that contract. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So who are the users? We are talking about the tenderers or bidders, the traders who would be who also can fall under the bidders, but also we'll see another side of this where you can also actually be the owners. You can also have owners of the platform also in this case. And then we also have the procuring entities, and of course the financial institutions and the banks that also will be offering the services. Next slide, please. So we have the Trade Power business process that will be handled on our platform, which is web-based and also has is accessible on mobile. Then you have the bidders. Now the bidders will be the ones who will be applying for the bid bond from the Trade Power platform. And then this, of course, if there are bidders who are actually applying for this, and therefore it means that there has to be financing, and that will bring in the banks or any other financial institutions who can be able to offer these services. And with That also is the procuring entity who actually owns the tender, who is actually giving out the tender so that, and requiring the services that the bidders or the goods that the bidders are actually going to provide. So we have the procuring entity on that, and then we have another part that may not be the active stakeholders in this case, but we're talking about KYC, which will see the importance, especially in the process of the application. Next slide, please. So this is the simplified process when it comes to the bid bond application. So you register and apply for the bid bond. So that means the bidder actually comes to the system. They're able to register themselves. Now, this is an individual within a company, so you can be able to do that. And the KYC you were talking about also now applies in the sense that you will be able to get to query. The system will actually query from the other entities as far as the KYC is concerned, entities or products, and we can be able to get information such as the company registration and the details under that, the directors and so on, most probably in some countries because the R12 form and so on. And that's beyond that also to the national ID systems, and be able to get complete information on the individual who is applying and the company that is applying on the behalf. And
last minute, Hassan.
Yeah, and beyond that, then you can be able now to go to the point of verification and approval. Now, the verification and approval also includes the directors of that company. So it's not just somebody who's going to apply for something on the behalf of a company and the others are not informed. So the directors are able to also contribute into this in the sense that they'll be given notification and they can come into the system, approve that verification and approval, and then proceed to the next stage where the bid bond is auto-generated and printed. Now, this is after the bank has also verified as part of the step 2 in the last stage of that verification. Then that will also then be submitted together with other tender documents. So all the documents that are required will be submitted, and that authenticity can also be checked by the procuring entity who can be able to confirm the bid bond that has been issued by the bank or not. Next slide.
Hassan, we're going to have to wrap up in about 10 seconds.
All right. So the Trade Powers platform is software as a service, can be offered as a software as a service or as a standalone, and it can be offered with recourse, meaning that you can have the financial institution actively involved in terms of underwriting, in terms of the financial provision, or also without recourse, where actually a third party can take up that credit risk and be able to run on that platform as an independent, financial provider. So next slide, please.
I think we're going to have to wrap it up, but we're going to be sharing the full presentation with everybody, Hassan. And I think you've given us more than enough to appreciate the real power of trade power, and how it's going to be helping a really critical area, this procurement process, and in particular help smaller firms who have more difficulty navigating this process. As you can see, there are many, many more things to share, and we'll be happy to share the presentation with everyone. It's great to see the way that Fintech Group keeps developing and evolving and coming out with new products. And I encourage everybody to get in touch with Hassan and Fintech Group. I'm sorry I had to curtail this explanation, but as I say, we're going to be sharing the slides with all of you. And I hope that you will follow up with Hassan either in the chat or in the marketplace afterwards. Now we're going to turn to another part of the world, but another fintech presentation. I'm going to turn over to Ontology.
Yeah, so is everyone can hear me?
We hear you just fine.
Okay. So hi everyone, thanks for joining the event. I'm Lee from Ontology. Ontology is a new member of SME Forum, and very glad to be on this community. So Ontology is a blockchain company focusing on building efficient decentralized network and applications. So the project originally launched in the end of the 2017, and it has been quite successful after that. So nowadays, a big challenge or conflict in this huge digital world is self-identity and data ownership. So Ontology is designed to solve this problem since the beginning. So we build product and technology to bring trust, privacy, and security to digital world through decentralized identity and data solutions. So from last year, Web3 concept has been exploded, and we were one of the pioneers in this field from the beginning. There are three main parts that assemble what we are doing right now. So first is decentralized network, and the second is decentralized applications, and the third is blockchain solutions to business. So first part is Ontology public chain network, which can be considered, it's fine. Yeah, which can be considered as an overall operating system of our product and applications. So Ontology chain is a high-speed, low-cost public chain. It's designed to bring decentralized identity and data solutions to Web3, and also increasing the privacy and transparency. So users, developers, and enterprise are provided with the flexibility to build blockchain-based solutions that suit their need. So using the cryptographic technology to enhance the business process and customer experience. Core products actually is the second part of our what we are doing right now. So it's decentralized applications and product we have incubated a lot. Here are some of the examples. So Ontology ID is our blockchain solution for individual identity. People's on and off-chain data is secured by prevent malicious attack to personal info. ONT Wallet is our flagship product that aggregate full range of blockchain applications. So you can manage your identity data and digital assets all in one place. Also, you may experience many more other applications from this gate. Please, next one. And Wing Finance and Saga are two platforms that solve the digital asset and data trading problems. So please, next one. The third part is blockchain. Yeah, that's a roadmap. Please, next slide. That's the last one. Yeah, next one. And the next one. Yes. Okay. The third part is blockchain solutions to business. Here are two examples of how we help different type of organizations with decentralized identity solution. Rocky is a music streaming platform. Our solution helps to build a KYC system to improve the security and the privacy of users and creators. See, actually, they own their identity data by themselves, and they can also mint NFT by our technology support. Next slide, please. So second use case, that was the
next one, please.
Yeah. Second use case is from Daimler, one of the largest auto group in the world. Daimler used Ontology solutions for payments and settlements, vehicle identifications, and data sharing. Daimler also developed its innovative, actually so-called Welcome Home app, use Ontology ID technology, allowing the drivers to customize their in-car experience in a way that safeguards their identity, also by adopting Ontology ID and Ontology blockchain for their mobility historical data. Daimler is actually enhancing the trust with their partners by our technology support. Yeah, so overall, right now, please next slide. Yeah, overall, ONT ID has around like 1.5 million registered users, and ONT Wallet is close to 1 million. So our team is trying, actually from years, trying the best to improve the product and growing the product adoption. But compared to some huge internet companies, we are still on the beginning phase. But we believe blockchain will reform the technology landscape. Also, we are still on a good shape heading to that space. And for SME Forum and maybe some companies that are interested on us, we can, like I mentioned, the user case, DID, self-sovereign data, or KYC type of solution, we can always provide to different enterprise and organizations. Yeah, thanks again for having me and Ontology here in this community. Please contact us if you have any interest or problems of knowing us a little bit more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lee. And look, we've been talking about transactions in every one of these cases. And thank you for reminding us that at the core of how we're going to make transactions easier and better and fairer for smaller players is improving the way in which data is moved around and stored. And for those that haven't heard a lot about blockchain, I hope Lee has interested you to know about how blockchain is going to take many of our data handling procedures and bring them into the 21st century from the, at best, 20th century telex technology for SWIFT, for example. And at worst, if we're talking about trade and supply chain and procurement, that all dates back to 14th century Venice, and it hasn't really changed. So this is the future. The future is using blockchain technology. I'm convinced of that. And hopefully you're becoming convinced of it. And if you want to know more, turn to Ontology. So we have one more presenter, last but certainly not least. I'm going to turn over to Accessor Capital, and you're going to have another 7 minutes like everybody else, which I'll start when your slideshow gets ready to go. So over to Accessor Capital, and we're going back from Asia to Southern Africa.
Thanks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Modise Motloba. Mark, I'm not seeing the presentation as yet.
We'll get it up in a second, and hopefully we will see you too, Modise, if you can activate your camera.
I'm struggling to get my video on. I'm saved.
Well, we hear you just fine, and that's what's most important. We hear you just fine, and we'll get your presentation up in a second, and I'm holding your timer until your presentation is up.
Can you see me now?
No, I still see your name and not you, but don't worry.
That's
we hear
fine,
you just fine.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to quickly just do an intro. I know I've got 7 minutes, so I'm going to shoot to slide 4, if I could just get my team. So we
see you now, Modise. Fantastic.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. So sorry, slide. Yeah, the slide. So just a quick introduction of who we are. We are really, what we call an SME development and financing institution based in South Africa. Sorry, the previous slide. And we're really all about SME development. I think we found a niche in terms of development financing, and more specifically, just around the struggle of SMEs that we've actually had in this country. So we are quite different because our approach has really been around taking our SME solutions to the corporates that in South Africa, through legislation, that they actually have to create an ecosystem of support in as far as access to finance, access to markets, and access to skills development and mentorship. Sorry, I'm still looking for the previous slide, slide 4, with the organogram, because I like talking more about that. So we found a niche there, which I think we're very proud that it's slightly different, but we've got 2 pillars really. It's a financial aspect of it, or access to financial and access to non-financial services. So our model is corporate South Africa who are non-financial institutions in the main, who have been through their support, have created a support structure where they provide us with access to funding, where we fund the SMEs from a development point of view. They also sit on the supply chain, where we also help them in terms of making sure that they do access finance. We also help them, like I said, access to markets, which is also a different model and back home when we want to extend it to the rest of the continent. Because for us, it's about the 3 kind of solutions for them. It's not just about money, it's about markets, and also it's about skills and development and all of that. And what we then do, on top of that, we really put in a wealth solution, because SMEs are really about wealth creation. So with us, we say it starts there at the beginning and also ends at the end. So we also just make sure that as they create wealth, it's well managed, and it starts with employee benefits and other solutions that we do. So that's our business model, really, end to end, from managing money, on lending the money, and making sure that they have access to markets and access to skills. I just want to take you through slide 6. Our slide 6, this is really where we started. I think anyone can read that. This is how we then provide the solutions. Our service offerings are tailor-made. They are in silos. Our clients can choose what aspect of it they can do. We help clients with issues on sustainability, and as far as strategy and policy formulation is concerned, we help them more in terms of the funding application or the fundability of the SMMEs. We take it further to managing the money. We are as SMME fund manager in this regard, and we really then take them into solutions such as mobilizing them. Most of our clients, they don't have access to some of the SMMEs. We then really go with them and really just engage them. We do a transaction right now next week where we'll be going to do it the same way. We manage loans, administer them, and grants. And I think more importantly for us, not only are we about skills development, we're also about mentorship and monitoring and evaluating actually the kind of solutions that we provide. Some of our clients also want to look more from an impact point of view and for more disclosure, that they can be able to look at that multiplier effect in as far as the solution is concerned. Next slide. I want to go to slide 7. This is our impact slide. And again, sorry, slide 7, please. So we focus a lot more in terms of, again, here we're talking about sustainability development goals. We do that and we manage that on the time in terms of what we've done. Sorry, still slide 7 I'm looking for.
One back.
One back, please. Stay here, please. Thank you very much. So in terms of just really looking at our sustainability and the impact that we make, we really look at a few pillars. One is how many SMMEs have gone through a screening for both financial and non-financial support. You'll see the numbers there. We also then monitor the loans that we've provided to them. You'll see about 160 that we've done that. We then also using our clients' money, and this really where for us is cost effective. Because we're getting money from corporates, we get blended financing or financial instruments from grants to zero interest loans that we provide to the SMMEs, and to also might be, even if there's a cost to it, is much more lower, because the biggest impact that our clients are looking for also is the social return in this regard. So we do manage loans, we do manage grants, and just really from one of the sustainable goals around job creation, we monitor how many jobs have been created and sustained. And our clients then benefit in terms of good corporate citizenship, in terms of access to opportunities. For instance, we have some of our coal mining companies that, because they supplied Eskom in South Africa, they need really to be seen to be really doing well from their and transformation parameter point of view. This is just our access in terms of regional space. We have about 7 of the 9 provinces that we're doing business with. We also have a presence in Zambia. We've started that business. And basically, we're talking about rolling out our solution of enterprise and supply development in the rest of the continent. And it's really creating that ecosystem that makes sure that we can get things going. I just want to take you through my last slide, which is slide 10, just from a financial instruments point of view, to give you a sense of where we source most of our funding. And I know in this platform, there's a lot of options and other opportunities from some of the companies that have been mentioned here that we can work together with them. Sorry, slide 10.
I think it's back 1.
Yeah.
Back 2 now.
Back 2. Yeah, stay here, please. If you look at
and we're in the last minute, Modise.
Yeah, we get our money from corporates. I want to emphasize that it's very important for us. And those that are really socially responsible, they put about 3% of their net profit after tax for our initiatives in terms of looking at the SMME from an ecosystem point of view. We do obviously have some DFIs, multilaterals, that are also giving us money from a match funding point of view. So it's from different instruments, like I said, and we're very excited. We want to roll this in the rest of the continent. We think really there's a solution. We're encouraging corporates and SMMEs to create this ecosystem where we can be a marketplace for them to be able to provide much more effective access to financial services, create jobs, generate income, and impact positively on the economic growth of those countries. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so much, Modise, and you finished bang on time. But even more important, and you're not the only one of our presenters today that's mentioning this, but it's great to remind us that SME finance is not just about financial institutions. There's an enormous potential, and we've discussed this in many occasions in the SME Finance Forum, of large corporates, large real sector companies, infrastructure providers, energy providers such as, and their role is also important. And it's really interesting to hear how Tysis Capital is trying to create that integrated ecosystem so you can offer the best possible support for SME growth, job creation, and the provision of essential goods and services. So folks, my head is spinning. I'm sure yours is too. 8 is a lot to take in, but the good news is we're going to be sharing with you all these presentations, and the even better news is you can go at any time to the marketplace. We've sent you the link to it on several occasions in the chat, and we'll remind you again in our follow-up message to you that you can find these companies, you can explore them at your leisure, and I certainly recommend to you that you give them more than 8 minutes of your time each, because as I hope you heard, they have so much to offer. And they're just a fraction of the hundreds of companies that are now on the marketplace that are offering all sorts of interesting services, funding, and other support that I'm sure is relevant to your work in SME financing. I'd like to thank all of the presenters today for being such good sports, as I've been a terrible draconian moderator and been really strict about the time. They've given really, really excellent summaries. I'd like to thank you in the audience. I'd like to ask you, please fill out our evaluation form so we can learn how to make, whether it's the marketplace or our webinars or our communities of practice, how we can make any of the things that we do in the SME Finance Forum better for you. I'd like to also note that, and you saw a post on this in the chat, that for those of you that have great examples, including I hope all our presenters, of these wonderful innovations to help SMEs go beyond credit to recover from COVID and grow and be financially included, we have a database we're operating with the G20 that wants to receive more information about your work. You can find out more about it on our website, smefinanceforum.org, and we did post the direct link to the database in the chat here, and we'll send it in the follow-on message. So I hope many of you will contribute databases. Also, the Global SME Finance Awards, another way that we can recognize innovative achievement. The competition has just opened for 2022. You have until early June if you want to put your cap in the ring and have what you're doing considered for an award. We have 5 categories. You can learn lots more about it under the awards tab of the SMEfinanceforum.org. And I hope that many of you will apply. There are 5 categories. And finally, we have many members here in this audience and in our presenters. If you're not yet a member and you're interested, your institution, in joining the SME Finance Forum, just contact us at smefinanceforum.org. We're happy to talk further with you about it. And with that, let me wish everybody, we've run a little over our marketplace time, but it's been such a rich and full affair. I'd like to wish you all a fond good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all. I hope you've enjoyed the presentations as much as I have, and I hope you'll follow up with our presenters, whether you do it through the links they provided directly, whether you do it through the marketplace. It's all there for you. If anybody has any trouble following up, just let us know, and the SME Finance Forum team is happy to help you. And with that, let me declare this marketplace finished for the day, and I look forward to being in touch with all of you soon. Take care and be safe, be well. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.